So I've been posting on BookTok since around January 2024. I think I'm probably wrong, my brain is built for remembering every line of both the Princess Diaries movies, not the day I started posting on TikTok. And honestly, the date doesn't matter. But what I quickly noticed within less than a month, I'd say, and this isn't a unique take in the slightest, is that on BookTok specifically, there really isn't any room for nuance or really having your own opinion. If you don't like a popular book such as A Court of Thorns and Roses or Fourth Wing, you're kind of just branded as a hater. I experienced this myself when I gave Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is a very popular book. It won Book of the Year when it came out. I gave it 0 stars though, because of how terrible I thought it was written. In my review of the book, I talked about the world building and how poorly, in my opinion, it was done. But the comment section just completely ignored everything I said and branded me as a racist due to the book's subject matter. No one cared about what I actually was saying. They'd already made up their minds that people who hate Babel by R.F. Kuang are a certain type of person, even if the review I posted didn't even mention the colonialism that Babel is about. I was talking about other aspects of the writing, not the subject matter. However, none of that mattered though, because everything on BookTok seems, to me anyway, very black and white. There isn't really any room for nuance. And whilst book reviews are welcomed, they're only welcomed if that review fits the popular opinion surrounding that book, or should I say, the right opinion. There's a popular idea on BookTok that if you've given a book that you've just read any less than 3 stars, then you shouldn't post a review about it. That's mean to the author, and how would they feel if they saw it? And as an author myself, personally, I'd like to see it. As an author, I want to improve, and if someone doesn't like something, I want to know. And all of these issues, this lack of nuance around opinions on books and the random coddling of authors' feelings who most people don't even know, is what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Hayes, and in today's video we're going to talk about some recent BookTok drama. And by drama, I just mean a teeny tiny little issue that really was a nothing burger that's been blown out of proportion because people seem to have lost all listening comprehension skills. So this drama in air quotes, because let's be real, this didn't need to happen, involves 2 people. The first person is Larry Reads, or just Larry, who I'll be referring to them by that in this video, is a book reviewer. Personally, prior to all this happening, I'd never heard of them. There must be thousands of reviewers on TikTok. And the other figure in this is Rina, who is an author, and they are the author of a recently published book called Kiss the Villain, which I'd also never heard of the book or this author because, again, loads of books, loads of authors. I think it would be impossible to know everyone. So Larry posted a book review of Kiss the Villain. However, important point before we continue and talk about the contents of the review is that Larry absolutely loves this author. However, liking an author doesn't mean you'll like everything they put out. And I had a look at Rina Kent's Amazon page and oh my god, it shows they have 135 titles. I don't know if some of these are special editions with just like 1 extra chapter and then get republished, or they're all completely unique titles. Maybe I'm lazy, but I didn't want to look through all 135 of them. But if we take probability into account, it's highly likely that with 135 books, you're going to run into at least one that you don't like as much as the rest. I will link Larry's TikTok down below, but here is a snippet of the review. I'm just gonna edit out and show you the major points.
I fear I have DNF'd one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Yes, you heard it here first. Kiss the Villain by Rina Kent. I DNF'd it at 50%. Gareth had the perfect opportunity to finally be a different MMC that Rina Kent writes in Legacy of Gods, because they are basically all the fucking same, and I love them, don't get me wrong, okay, but I wanted something different, and I thought Gareth was gonna give me that. No, it turns out he's exactly the same. And then we have Caden. I couldn't for the life of me like that man. I in fact hated that man. Not a single part of him was redeemable to me. Gareth also kept fucking saying that he was so crazy and so insane and oh my goodness me, he's the worst of them all. Show me. Why are you talking? Why are you telling me? Just show me. If you are that fucking crazy, I should just be able to see. The parts I did like, there were some parts I liked, okay? Hear me out. The parts I liked were the parts that had Killian and Jeremy and Nikolai. That's it. Now, I heard someone say that the plot starts at 60. I'm sorry, that is way too long for the plot to begin. You expect me to wait until 60% of the book for you to give me plot? No.
So as you can see, it's a largely negative review. Larry DNF'd it at 50%, and without having read this book myself, Larry's issues going off this review seem to be with the characters, a lot of them seem quite similar, as well as there being a lot more telling of what characters are like rather than the reader being shown what the characters are like. And Larry ends it with, you know, great if you like the book, but I didn't.
Listen, if you love this book, I'm very fucking happy for you. I will never be that person that sits here and says, hey, you can't like this book. You love that book. I am happy for you. However, not me. I cannot relate. I wish I could relate because I love a lot of Rina Kent books.
And like I said, I haven't read the book, but without having read the book myself, I feel like what Larry says is more than fair. It sounds like they ran into some legitimate issues with the book, and while you could call the review negative, in my opinion, it actually comes across as like a really constructive review, really constructive criticism. They talk about some of the characters being very similar and the lacking of showing, which is what most readers tend to like. To me, as an author, that review was more constructive than it was negative. However, even if you want to say it was just a negative review, in my opinion, this wasn't a mean review. Larry stated the issues they had with the book. They weren't rude about anyone else who won't like it, and importantly, they didn't attack Rina Kent, the author. Now, I'm not saying you can never talk about something bad an author has done. Sarah J. Maas has been incredibly insensitive, and I think she rightfully deserves to be called out for it. The allegations against Neil Gaiman are absolutely horrific, and J.K. Rowling is just being herself at this point, let's be fair. I don't know anything about Rina Kent other than if she's written 135 books, then she's probably got her laptop surgically attached to her fingertips. I don't know if she has done anything terrible, but if Rina Kent has, then Larry didn't want to mention it in their review. To me, the review Larry posted was more than fair. She respectfully expressed their opinion and mentioned some concerns that they had with the book.
However,
because BookTok is BookTok, they didn't like it. Larry's review was called overly harsh and mean and rude, but it just objectively wasn't. Larry didn't like the book, and that's fine, but because so many other people seem to like Kiss the Villain, Larry had the wrong opinion. Now, books are allowed to be disliked on BookTok, mainly ones by Colleen Hoover, but because Colleen Hoover books are universally disliked on BookTok, a negative review of them is allowed. But Larry is branded as being too harsh because they don't hold the right opinion about Kiss the Villain. They weren't mean or rude, they were respectful, and people still didn't like it. The title of this video, probably, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, there is no room for nuance on BookTok. In an ideal world, to be fair, in an ideal world, BookTok probably wouldn't exist. There'd be no TikTok in an ideal world. But if it did, in this ideal world, people would read a book and perhaps they'd like it, perhaps they wouldn't. Then they'd see a video about the same book that had the opposite opinion to them. And the initial person would be like, well, I have this completely other opinion about the book, but that's fine because everyone is different. And then they would move on with their day. However, on BookTok, there is no room for having different opinions about the same book. It's all very much black and white thinking. There's no room for nuance or thinking comprehension skills. You're either in the in-group or you're relegated to the dark corner of my attic where I keep my Haruki Murakami books. Important context, I don't like Haruki Murakami books. But hopefully you get the point. Larry basically gets told off for expressing their wrong opinion when in all actuality, there was really no issue to start with. You're allowed to dislike a book, and I think Larry's review is more than fair. Honestly, if I had read a similar book that I didn't like, I'd probably have given a similar review, being fair and constructive without being rude and hateful. I don't think there was anything wrong with their review. Their review, in the grand scheme of things, was, like I said before, a nothing burger snowballed into something you'd find in the McDonald's drive-thru at 2 AM. The absence of nuance on TikTok and people's inability to realise differing opinions are allowed to exist about the same piece of media at the same time creates drama if a reviewer just breathes in the wrong way. So, however, that wasn't everything though. There was another issue. So, as I said before, Larry loved Rina Kent, the author. And it seemed Rina Kent knew this, and Rina Kent used to follow Larry. And as you can tell by that sentence, Rina Kent no longer follows Larry. Now, don't get me wrong, no one would have known this had happened if Larry hadn't made a video about it. Larry made, in what in my opinion is a pretty funny video, where she mourns the loss of one of her favourite authors unfollowing them. And of course, again, there were two arguments made here, both for and against it. So the first one is that Rina Kent was immature for unfollowing Larry. And in my opinion, as both a TikTok book reviewer and as a published author, I don't think so. Personally, for me, as an author, I would say video reviews of my book would help me grow, but I don't think I've ever seen one in my life. But written reviews of my books certainly have helped to grow me as an author. I try and take on the feedback because I want to get better. However, that is absolutely not for everyone. I have author friends who are like, no, I don't want to know what they say. Either even want to know good reviews, they're just like, I will publish this and I will put it out. But that's it. I don't want to they don't want to talk about the reviews and what other people think. They're just like, it's out. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, also great. Just don't tell me. And that's fine. Like, just because I like them doesn't mean every other author has to. And same again, if someone did make a video reviewing my book, yeah, I would probably watch it. But not everyone would, and not everyone has to. You don't have to engage with things that might make you upset or might make your anxiety worse or anything like that. As an author, I really don't think it was that big of a deal that Rina Kent unfollowed Larry. I think it might be a big deal to Larry because Larry really adores Rina Kent's books, but other than that, like other than like a personal issue, I don't think it was a big deal. If Rina Kent wants to scroll away from a video about one of her books, then she's more than able to. If you come across a video or a creator you don't like, you don't have to follow them, you don't have to watch their content, just leave. So no, personally, I do not think Rina Kent was immature for unfollowing Larry. And the other argument, this one against Larry, is that Larry shouldn't have made the video in the first place. As in the video where they say that Rina Kent had unfollowed them. And whilst I acknowledge that everyone wouldn't have known this had happened had Larry not made that video, honestly, I thought it was hilarious, and the way it says like RIP, it seems like it was meant to be taken that way, which Larry confirms in their response to this drama. But there are people in these comments going like, oh, you know what you did when you made this video. Like, chill out! Unless Rina Kent has said something about how much Larry hurt their feelings, or that, you know, Larry mortally offended her with this book review. Again, it's just a whole nothing burger. And I know the argument here will be, well, obviously Rina Kent saw Larry's review. Yeah, Rina Kent probably did. And that's probably why they unfollowed Larry. But why should that stop Larry posting book reviews or being honest in the reviews? It's just... Why? Why does it matter? What if the book review gets published in a magazine and Rina Kent happens to read the magazine? What then? What if two people in a coffee shop start talking about it and Rina Kent happens to be there and they hear? What are we gonna do? Just never discuss books? It's the same logic here. As an author and a reviewer, I would never tag the author in my review, and whether that review was positive or negative, if the author stumbles across it, the author stumbles across it. That's just the way it is. But again, in like this second part of the drama, is this lack of nuance. People seem to be unable to consider where Rina Kent might be coming from, unless it's outright immaturity, or also unable to consider where Larry is coming from. Could you argue that by making that second video where it was like RIP because Rina Kent unfollowed them, was coming from a place of malice? Yeah, you could, but people lack the nuance to see that just maybe Larry was trying to be funny because of how much they demonstrate how much they love Rina Kent as an author. Like, they had like a tattoo to do with one of their books. Like, they quite clearly loved Rina Kent. Anyway, overall, the whole situation was just needlessly dramatic, as are most situations on BookTok. Not all though. For example, oh my god, if you haven't heard, there was an author, and they were a self-published author, which is not to disparage anyone who's self-published, but this is an important detail. They got arrested because they self-published a book, a fiction book, about a PDF file, like in a positive way, which still just astounds me that they were like, yeah, this is... Anyway, with some absolutely disgusting exceptions, such as that, due to this lack of nuance on BookTok and the very basic black and white thinking on there, and also a general absence of critical thinking skills, a single book review that is along the lines of something I would think was perfectly fine to post myself about a book I didn't like started all of this, which is just bonkers. And if you're wondering whose side I'm on after all of that, I guess both Larry's and Rina Kent's side. I haven't read Kiss the Villain, but Larry's review seemed really fair and constructive to me, but I also understand some authors don't want to see a reader's less favourable reviews, so they may unfollow them or just not even watch that content altogether. Which I think is fine. I don't think that was immature of the author. And maybe, yeah, Larry shouldn't have posted that video mourning the loss of the follow back from Rina Kent, but honestly, I thought it was pretty funny. In conclusion, it wasn't that deep, but in the style of English teachers everywhere, trying to overanalyze a book and tell you that blue curtains symbolise a character's sadness. BookTok took things way too far when there was absolutely zero need to, in the slightest. It was fine for some people to disagree with Larry's review if they really enjoyed Kiss the Villain, but there was no need for all of the extra stuff. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think of the situation. I will link Larry's TikTok down below, but I would love to know what you think of the situation. What do you think about BookTok? I enjoy posting on there and I enjoy the people who regularly interact with me, but when I just get random people who are just rude for no reason because they disagree with me, it's just like, you can have your opinion about a book without having to be mean to me. You can disagree with me without having to call me an ableist slur. You know what I mean? Apparently not on BookTok though. Anyway, I'd love to know what you'll think and I will see you in the next one. Bye!